Hey guys, SuperPat98 here, and welcome to Explaining All the Packs in Pac-Man, Part 3. In this video series, I explain all the different Pac characters, other than Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man and stuff. The characters that you've seen in the cartoons, in the comics, in the games of course, and other forms of media like books and whatnot. Rare packs in the history of the Pac Village or Pac-Land and stuff like that. It's another fun, fantastic adventure in the land of Pac-Man. Welcome to Part 3. Number 1, Sir Chomps-a-Lot. Sir Chomps-a-Lot could possibly be the ancestor to Pac-Man, who appeared in an episode of the old Hanna-Barbera 80s Pac-Man cartoon. It's an episode where the ghosts and Pac-Man himself time travel back to the medieval age. What's pretty amazing is that the character of Sir Chomps-a-Lot is a lot like the character Sir Pac-a-Lot from Pac-Man World 2. Both are two different packs. Sir Chomps-a-Lot is to be believed as the ancestor to Pac-Man himself, whereas Sir Pac-a-Lot is a different pack. Sir Pac-a-Lot fought the evil Spooky, but they're both packs that existed in the same exact time period. I wonder if they ran into each other. Whereas Sir Chomps-a-Lot fought all the other ghosts other than Spooky. It's pretty amazing that using our pack timeline here, two completely different packs can exist in the same exact era. The only other pack I remember this happening in Pac-Man is the character of Count Pacula, which is obviously a parody of Count Dracula. In the 80s Hanna-Barbera cartoon is when Pacula first appeared. He then appeared again in Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, but in this instance, both Paculas are one and the same. Why? Well, because he's a vampire, so vampires don't age. So that's pretty interesting that we have a pack that has existed and lived long enough to now be part of the futuristic society in Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. Anyway, Sir Chomps-a-Lot is pretty damn cool, although Sir Pac-a-Lot is way cooler though, especially since he was brave enough to defeat Spooky, who, especially at the time, was the strongest and most intimidating of all the ghosts, possibly even to this day. Number 2, Pac-Ranger. Despite the awesome name, this is not Pac-Man trying to become one of the Power Rangers, but actually, this is a park ranger that appeared in Pac-Man World 2. He appears in the snow levels and basically instructs Pac-Man to be careful out there because of all the ghosts and the snow and all that kind of stuff. And he's a friendly, park ranger trying to protect Pac-Man and really cheering him on his grand adventure to defeat Spooky and save Pac-Land from destruction. What's pretty amazing about Pac-Man World 2 is that it's pretty much a throwback to the old Hanna-Barbera Pac-Man cartoon, because in that old 80s cartoon, there were lots of packs that were roaming around in Pac-Land, in like the town and stuff. And here we get to see the Pac Village return in Pac-Man World 2. Number 3, Professor Pac-Man. Professor Pac-Man is one of the most memorable Pac-Man characters. He's often shown with all the other iconic Pac-Man characters like Junior, Ms. Pac-Man, and Pac-Man himself. Professor Pac-Man is a different Pac character other than Pac-Man himself. It's not Pac-Man when he's old, but Professor Pac-Man is more like Pac-Man's grandfather, kinda. He basically acts as a mentor to Pac-Man in Pac-Man World 2, where he explains to Pac-Man the history of the plight of Sir Pac-a-Lot fighting Spooky. Professor Pac-Man first appeared in the 1983 arcade game. The arcade game was a huge flop at the time, and in fact, so quickly that it flopped, they changed the circuit board to change it to a previous, more popular Pac-Man title. I think his original game is pretty cool, especially if you love trivia, and I think it was a neat idea for them to try instead of making every single Pac-Man game the exact same maze experience, you know what I mean? So he's basically an old school teacher of sorts, and wears the classic graduation hat on top of his head. Professor Pac-Man reminds me of those old Beanie Babies, from the 90s and the early 2000s that had the graduation caps on. Many people theorize that Pac-Master, a character that appeared in Pac-and-Roll, is actually the early version of Professor Pac-Man when he was younger. This is possible because the game Pac-and-Roll is a prequel to all the other Pac-Man games. But I've talked about this ad nauseum in my other Pac-Man related videos, so I won't go any deeper into it here. On a side note, Professor Pac-Man does remind me a lot of Toadsworth from the Mario series, even though Professor Pac-Man came first. Also, Professor Pac-Man appeared in Pac-Man World 1, basically appearing like an old idiot and, getting captured by the ghosts and whatnot. Aside from his 1983 arcade game, Professor Pac-Man doesn't really do much, but he's just a memorable character that sticks out, and you'll see him appear every now and then with the rest of the Pac family. Number 4, Skeebo. Skeebo is one of the Pacs that appears in the TV series Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. He's basically a typical jock stereotype character who is a douchebag and annoys Pac-Man and the other Pac characters. There's really not much else to say about him, but I do think it's pretty cool that his skin is blue instead of yellow. And also, despite how dull he is as a character, he does actually appear in a lot of episodes. But he doesn't really do anything too memorable, though, as a character. Number 5, Pac-Mummy. In one of the classic episodes of the 80s Hanna-Barbera cartoon appeared the Pac-Mummy. The Pac characters are so charming looking and innocent appearing that it's surprising that they actually made a Pac design pretty scary looking and creepy. Pac-Mummy is a classic Pac villain character, and I wish the Pac-Mummy returned in like a Pac-Man video game, for instance. This was such a great and charming idea, and it's a perfect episode to watch for Halloween time. Although Pac-Mummy is the original, this isn't the first time that we've seen mummies in Pac-Man before. Ms. Pac-Man did fight mummies in Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness, but that happened much later in like the late 90s. But Pac-Mummy was the very first, mummy they encountered. And he's definitely one of the most vicious Pacs that has ever existed in the history of Pac-Man. I love his design, and I wish I had more to say, but I guess I'll just leave it that he is so badass looking. I just love that character. Number 6, Handy-Pac. As you may have guessed, another Pac appears in Pac-Man World 2 that's pretty friendly and encourages Pac-Man on his journey. Basically a handyman, with the classic outfit. Handy-Pac is basically like the Bob the Builder version of Pac-Man. And unfortunately, I don't have much else to say about Handy-Pac, but it would be kinda neat if Handy-Pac got his own spin-off game. I don't know, why not? Maybe he could build construction sites to help destroy the ghosts or block the path, stop the ghosts from attacking Pac-Man or something like that. And number 7, Spheros. This odd and peculiar looking Pac is from Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. He's kind of a main character in this show. He's actually the president of Pac-Land, or whatever you want to call the land they exist in the future. I always like to call it Pac-Land or Pac-Man World, but it's usually Pac-Land. So he's the president. He has a pretty cool design that's kind of memorable, and his brother is actually Betrayus, and they have an often ongoing, hate relationship as both brothers. Two brothers that have completely different paths that they took, and probably the best storyline that's ever existed in all of Pac-Man, despite the fact that Pac-Man himself is not involved much in this storyline. Anyway, guys, so that's the history of the Pac-People, Part 3. Please like and subscribe, and let me know if you guys like these kind of videos, and then I'll make some more possibly. And please hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my uploads. Thank you so much for watching, have an amazing week, and I'll see you all next time. Waka waka!